Hey guys, welcome to the Daily Word Bible Study, a plain and simple book by book, chapter by chapter, and verse by verse study through the entire Bible. We are in Psalms 58, the 58th Psalm, and we're going to get right into it, talking about the praises of God in song with some prophecy involved in it. All right, let's get to it. Psalm 48. Yeah. All right, here we go. Psalm 48. The Lord is great and highly praised in the city of our God. Now, this psalm is very interesting because the title, I'm going to tell you the title, excuse me, it says the sons of Korah. I don't know, I don't kind of get into all of the theological and the scholarly study only because I'm not a scholar and I haven't done the study. Um, so it so the sons of Korah, if I understand this, is referring to the people during the time of Moses, and then afterwards. Now it's possible that the sons of Korah could be the descendants of Korah. These were priests and in the book of Numbers, they would cause the Korah rebellion, where the earth swallowed up. I want to say Numbers 23, but I'm not for sure. Don't hold me to that. Now the reason why I bring this up is because when he says the Lord is great and highly praised in the city of our God, and then it says his holy mountain rising splendidly in the joy is the joy of the whole earth. Mount Zion on the slopes of the north is the city of the great king. So in terms of when this psalm was written, to me would have to be during the time of David. Zion, and then Mount Zion. Zion refers to Jerusalem. And if you go back to 2 Samuel, you will see David conquering Jerusalem. Now, Jerusalem had been around for centuries before David. The inhabitants were referred to as the Jebusites, but they were pagan, ungodly people. In fact, they even taunted David, saying, "You would never conquer Jerusalem." They even said, "Our blind and deaf could ward off your army." So David took it, and then it became known as the city of David. And then Mount Zion is a mountain believed to be where the temple was built. So that's the kind of idea of Zion. And then, of course, there are a lot of other meanings that people attach to Zion. But so that's why I only kind of raised this here. So again, the Lord is great and highly praised. Is the city of our God, his holy mountain, rising splendidly is the joy of the whole earth. Mount Zion on the slopes of the north is the city of the great king. Also, Zion, Jerusalem, is also in prophecy. So throughout, you can almost even say eternity, from we can say that Jerusalem is referred to, in fact, what is known as the New Jerusalem. In the book of Revelation, which is a 1,400-mile square city, so 1,400 miles each way, which would be, if you go from New York City, it's almost half the country. So if you think about how big the city is, if they get the numbers right, just think half of the United States. Either half, doesn't matter, because I think from coast to coast is around 3,000 miles, a little over. So think about half of the country. Same thing from southern border to northern border. So just look at half of the United States, and that's how big the New Jerusalem would be. So it's in prophecy as well. Verse 3, God is known as a stronghold in its citadels. Look, the kings assemble, they advance together, they look and froze with fear. They fled in terror. Trembling seized them there. Agony like that of a woman in labor. As you wreck the ships of Tarshish with the east wind, just as we heard, so we have seen in the city of Yahweh of hosts, in the city of our God. God will establish it forever. Selah. Now, that really seems to be a literal prophecy that Jerusalem would be God's city forever. As I said, the new Jerusalem, 1,400 miles wide. It's spectacular. If you read Revelations 21 and 22, okay, verse 9, God within your temple, we contemplate your faithful love. Your name, God, like your praise, reaches to the ends of the earth. Your right hand is filled with justice. Mount Zion is glad, and the towns of Judah rejoice because of your judgments. Go around Zion, encircle it, count its towers, note its ramparts, tour its citadels, so that you can tell a future generation, this God, our God forever and ever, He will always lead us. All right, 49 says, hear this, all you peoples, listen, all you inhabit the world. Bow and low, both low and high, rich and poor together. My mouth speaks wisdom. My heart meditation brings understanding. I turn my ear to a proverb. I explain my riddle with a liar. Why should I fear? Why should I fear in times of trouble? The iniquity of my foes surround me. They trust in their wealth and boast of their abundant cities. Yet these cannot redeem a person or pay his ransom to God, since the price of redeeming him is too costly. One should forever stop trying. So he may live forever and not see the pit. For one can see that wise men die, foolish and stupid men also pass away. Then they leave their wealth to others. Their graves are their eternal homes, their homes from generations to generations, though they have named estates after themselves. Kind of interesting when you look at this perspective, what he's saying here. This is so true. What is your wealth in the time of death? Think about that. You think about just pick any wealthy person. Think about all of the wealthy, the houses, everything. I was just watching one wealthy man and his toys that he has. Yes, I was envious. These expensive remote airplanes. He had a whole fleet of them. And not only that, because he's wealthy, he had an entire hangar built for these remote, bigger, I think it's 3 or 4 times bigger than my house. Okay. All right. But you think at the time of death, what does it mean? So he says they leave their wealth to others. So it's kind of interesting, this perspective here. Verse 12. Read something again. Their graves are the eternal homes. Now, remember the Old Testament, we're seeing this from a physical perspective, not an eternal. We don't see a lot of the eternal or the spiritual realm. We do see it, but not a lot of it, as when we come to the New Testament. So in other words, death in a sense is the end to them. Well, we also know through Revelation, death is not the end. Only the physical bodies are the graves, but your spirit goes on. You go on after death, either to Hades or heaven. In this case, in heaven, but as Jesus pictured it, told the story in Luke 16 of the rich man and the poor man. The point is, both kept going. Existence go on. Consciousness go on. Your spirit was just the real you. So But anyway, verse 11, their graves are their eternal homes. Their homes are from generation to generations, meaning uh, though they have named their states after them. Now that's true. You think about some of the graves or wherever people are buried, especially during David's time, which is some 3,500 years, right? 3,000 years, around 3,000 years, right? He's dead and buried. Verse 12, but despite his assets, man will not last. He is like an animal that perished. This is the way of those who are arrogant and of their followers, who approve all their words. Like sheep, they are headed for Sheol. Sheol, of course, is the grave. Um, then he says, death will shepherd them. The upright will rule over them in mourning, and and their form will waste away in Sheol, far from the lofty abode. But God will redeem my life and from the power of Sheol, for He will take me, Selah. Do not be afraid when a man gets rich, when the wealth of his houses increase. So, okay, to be humorous here, yes, as I'm looking at that billionaire flies planes. Okay, I'm not gonna be afraid. I'm not gonna be envious. Yes, I wanted that kind of money to buy those kind of toys, but I digress. Verse 17, for when he dies, he will take nothing at all. His wealth will not follow him. So if ever they're the truth, I saw a picture about a hearse that had a U-Haul connected to it, which is kind of interesting because and the idea, the picture was coming after this thought right here. You can't take it with you. No one, no matter what they have or what they don't have, death is the equalizer. You cannot take it with you. 18, though he praises himself during his lifetime, the people praise you when you do well for yourself. He will go to the generations of his fathers. They will never see the light. A man with valuable possessions, but without understanding, is like the animals that perish. So, like I said, in Luke chapter 16, Jesus tells a story to me similar to this. Okay? All right. Psalm 50 says, Yahweh, the God of gods, speaks. Now, if you notice how they frame this, the Yahweh, right? Then he says the gods, capital G, and then of gods. So in scripture, the true living God is always capitalized. Every other name for pagan gods, whatever, is little gods. So Yahweh, the God of gods, speaks. He summons the earth from east to west. From Zion, the perfection of beauty, God appears in radiance. God, our God is coming, and he will not be silent. Devouring fire precedes him. And a storm rages around him. Verse 4, on high he summons heaven and earth in order to judge his people. Gather my faithful ones to me, those who made a covenant with me by sacrifice. The heavens proclaim his righteousness, for God is the judge, Selah. Now, this is something, whether people like it or not, the judge will always, when we talk about the judge, then of course, you will, he is the judge of the earth. Everyone will stand before him. One of the interesting things, though, about this judgment, which I'm not going to get into here, what do we mean by judge, however? If you think about this, what do we mean by judge? Well, what is going to happen at the judgment seat? Okay, as I said, we're not going to get into that, but it is interesting. There are actually two different distinct judgments. And then if you even break it down, there are a few more judgments. But when we talk about eternal judgments, actually two, the first and the second judgment. Okay. And this is in Revelation chapter 20. Okay. Verse 7, listen, my people, and I will speak, I will testify against you, Israel. I am God, your God. I do not rebuke you for your sacrifices or for your burnt offerings, which are continually before me. I will not accept a bull from your household, a male goat from your pens. For every animal in the forest is mine, and the cattle on 1,000 hills. I know every bird of the mountains, and the creatures of the field are mine. If you were, if I were hungry, I would not tell you, for the world and everything in it is mine. Now, this is a very interesting declaration. Everything in it, he says, is mine. The world. Now, so then, what is the world? The Hebrew definition is, in the Greek definitions are simple. In the sense, the term world itself means the kind of ordered system. So in other words, so the world is on the planet Earth. So to keep that in mind, the world is on the planet Earth. So when you talk about the world, you could have the world as referred to the universe, the planet, but keep in mind the ordered system. And then you got the ordered systems of the planet. Okay. Then you can, so the ordered system of the planet would be the government, the financial system. In other words, when we say how the world works. And if you stop and think about, even now, how the world, the financial systems of the world, how they work all over the world. I'm not saying that there's not such thing as rich or poor, but think about this. All over the world, they work. And then, of course, the world means, so you have the governmental systems, the financial systems, and then, of course, you can even have the people of the world. So notice he says, everything is mine, though. So this is why everyone will stand before God. And by the way, without getting into another kind of debate, this is why you cannot charge God, because everything is his. He made it. This is his declaration. Unless you can prove him wrong and overpower him, which you know you can't. So, verse 13, do I eat the flesh of bulls or drink the blood of goats? Sacrifice. It says, sacrifice a thank offering to God and pay your vow to the Most High. Call on me in the day of trouble, and I will rescue you, and I will rescue you, and you will honor me. But God says to the wicked, what right do you have to recite my statutes and to take my covenant on your lips? You hate instructions and turn your back on my word. When you see a thief, you make friends with him and associate with adulterers. You unleash your mouth for evil, and harness your tongue for deceit. Verse 20. Let me go back and notice who he's talking to when he says this, just so you know. But God says to the wicked. Okay, so let's keep this in mind. This is a description of the wicked and ungodly person. Verse 6, you sit maligning your brother, slandering your mother's son. You have done these things, and I kept silent. You thought I was just like you, but I will rebuke you and lay out a case before you. Understand this, you who forget God, or I will tear you apart, and there will be no one to rescue you. Whoever sacrifices a thank offering honors me. Whoever orders his conduct, I will show him the salvation of God. Okay. Now this is some great stuff here, what she's singing about, and like I said, this is also to me revelation. Talking about revelation of God, but what you can consider as revelation. All right, guys, don't forget to like and share this video. Subscribe to BP the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comment section below. And again, please like and share this video. See you in the next study.